Welcome to Sex Talk with Kelly. I invite you to spend the next 30 minutes embracing your sexuality and exploring your edges. Did you know that healthy vulvas are happy vulvas? Well, tonight we're getting some tips for happy, healthy vulvas and vaginas. We're exploring your attachment styles and the impacts on your relationships, and exploring sexuality across the lifespan. Let's get this sexy show on the road. We are so fortunate to have Stacey Jacobs here with us today to talk about happy, healthy vulvas and vaginas. And she brought a friend with her today.
I did. Thank you very much. This is Vivian.
This is Vivian. Nice to meet you, Vivian.
Yes. Vivian is a wondrous vulva puppet, and I have been working with her for about, I think, 8 or 9 years now.
Okay.
So she is pretty popular around town. People know her name, they love seeing her, and she gives people a lot of great information.
Yeah, Stacey's the best educator, sexual health educator in Kitchener-Waterloo, and she's constantly around town with Vivian.
Thanks.
So nice to have you both with us.
Thank you.
So why do you like to bring her out? Like, what is the benefit? I know it really helps with teaching people about anatomy and things like that.
Absolutely. And if you have a vulva, it's actually a really hard part of the body to see. So this gives everybody a visual, and then we can normalize the vulva, the vagina, talk about it, and people can actually see something. So depending on what we're talking about, we use Vivian to talk about anatomy, to talk about puberty, to talk about menstruation, to talk about pap tests, to talk about exams. So she really does come in handy.
And people with the sexual self-esteem component is, am I normal? What is normal? So how do you approach questions like that? Because it's not like people look at a million other vulvas and vaginas out there, but looking at their own to get comfortable with your own body is crucial.
Absolutely.
But how do you normalize the question, or how do you answer the question, what is normal?
And people ask normal a lot. I don't tend to use the word normal because really when you're saying something's normal, that means someone else is abnormal.
Right.
So I don't like using that word, but people want to know, am I normal? So actually yesterday we were talking with Vivian, and I mentioned that labia, so these are the inner labia here, can be 2 different sizes or lengths. And somebody looked at me and they were like, so I'm normal? I'm like, absolutely, because no one had ever told them that before.
Right.
So the outer labia, they can be different sizes, different shapes, the inner labia, and everybody's going to look different, just like we all have different hands, we all have different feet, we all have different faces. We're all unique. When I talk with adults, I actually have a poster with actual vulva pictures, photographs on it, and we pass it around so people can actually look, because you're right, most people who have vulvas haven't seen many other vulvas or even their own. So it normalizes that again and shows everyone that everyone can look very different, because sometimes the only vulva people see are porn vulva.
Right.
And actually, I'm going to clarify something. I keep saying vulva. Some people don't know what vulva actually means.
Well, let us clarify.
Because we tend to use the word vagina a lot. We don't use the word vulva very often. So vulva is everything that you can see on the outside, so the external genitalia. The vagina is the birth canal. So the vagina, you can see the opening on the outside on the vulva, but you can't actually see the vagina. So the vagina is on the inside.
Right.
So most people use the word vagina incorrectly to mean everything that you can see on the outside.
But really that's vulva, and the inside is vagina.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you for clarifying for everyone.
No problem.
It's good to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were saying that there's beautiful artwork out there that demonstrates all different types of vulvas and embracing the beauty of all of them. But you were just about to touch on how a lot of times people look towards pornography to measure up against themselves, and that's not the healthiest way to go.
Absolutely not. So a lot of pornography, everyone looks very similar. People go as far as actually bleaching their skin to have a certain color. Most pubic hair is removed in pornography, so to me what they're kind of going for is vulvas that look younger or even childlike, whereas in reality people have pubic hair. And you don't need to remove your pubic hair. Right. But a lot of people choose to, and that's okay as well. Also in pornography, usually the inner labia are quite small, so people actually have reconstructive surgery to make the labia smaller so that everything looks more like this. So all you see is the outer labia, and you don't actually see the inner labia typically because they've either had surgery or sometimes it's airbrushed. out as well. So it gives people this idea about what a vulva actually looks like, when in reality, they can look so many different ways.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that breaks my heart a little bit if that's how people are looking, or what they're looking at to get a sense of, am I normal? But knowing that there is no normal, that there's just you, unique and special, just like all of us, all different hair color, skin color, and all of it is beautiful. Diversity is beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, so can you finish up with some tips in terms of how can we keep our vulvas happy and healthy?
One of the things you can do is wear cotton underwear. So cotton is a breathable material, so air gets in, air gets out, so there's not a lot of moisture that stays trapped. Moisture can lead to problems with infections, overgrowth of yeast, things like that. Thongs and G-strings can be actually problematic as well, because we all know that thongs and G-strings can kind of go up your butt. Then what they can do actually is go in between the labia as well and cause irritation, but they can also bring bacteria from the bum into the vagina.
Right, okay.
And we don't want bacteria in the vagina.
Right.
When you're sleeping, you don't have to wear underwear at all, just to kind of let everything breathe. But one of the most important things that people don't realize is that you should not douche.
Should not
Never douche.
Okay.
The vagina cleans itself, so you never need to put soap or products or chemicals inside the actual vagina. Your vagina, I look at it as kind of like an eyeball. So we don't scrub or clean our actual eyeballs, we clean around them, but they clean themselves. So we wake up in the morning, they've cleaned themselves, you wipe everything away, and you're good to go. Okay. Exactly the same as the vagina.
Okay.
So everything is coming out, everything is cleaning itself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for providing such valuable information for us today.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, of course. So glad to have you both here. How can people get in touch with you for more information if they need you to come and educate some people?
Right. So I'm happy to come and talk to any group of people around any topic around sexual health. You can contact me through my job at the Shore Center. I'm the Sexual Health Educator at education@shorecenter.ca.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are here with Melissa Reid, and she's going to share with us how our attachment style can affect our relationship. So thank you so much for being here, Melissa.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, she's a therapist from Bliss Counseling.
Absolutely.
And you're our resident attachment expert in our practice. So please enlighten us. Share some of what you know about attachment styles and how it can affect relationships.
Okay. So yeah, you know what? Attachment styles are really kind of how we see ourselves in the world in terms of in relation to others. And so what we know about attachment is it really starts in early childhood, in the foundations of our family and our parenting, or being parented rather. And out of that, what researchers discovered is that there's about 4 different attachment styles that manifest from that early childhood development. Originally, we kind of came from the conclusion that whatever happens in childhood means that we're stuck with that attachment style for the rest of our life. But what we know is that as we journey through our lives, our attachment styles can shift and change depending on who we're in relationships with.
Okay.
So yeah, it started there, and then what happens is as we go into our adult relationships, so those intimate partners or our friendships, even colleagues at work, how we were kind of framed in relationship in early childhood influences how we see the relationship in terms of safety and security.
Okay, so safety and security are a big part of it then.
Absolutely.
And then can feed into how we relate with other people based on how secure we feel or how safe we feel.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are the different attachment styles like that you think could be affecting some of the relationships, and in what ways, I guess?
Yeah. So what we'd like to see in a relationship in terms of ability to process how we are loved, cared for, and nurtured, and to give love, care, and nurture is what we call a secure attachment style.
Okay.
And the good news is that about 50% of our population have a secure attachment style. So
Great to know.
That's right. There's a lot of us out there that function from that perspective. Then we have what we call an insecure attachment style, and that's actually broken out into 2 different types.
Okay.
The first one, and I'll talk about it from the early childhood development because I think out in the world, that's how people know it,
Sure.
is the anxious attachment style. Okay. In adulthood, we call it preoccupied. It shifts its name a little bit, but this is where we don't feel like the person that we're relating to is predictable. And so unfortunately, we become less predictable. The other attachment style is called avoidant, or in adulthood, we call it dismissive. And this is where, because we believe we know how the person will react, which is to not be there for us, we actually ourselves withdraw.
Okay.
Okay? So this, as you can probably start to guess, definitely has an impact on intimate partnerships.
Right.
The last one that I didn't really talk about is what we call disorganized attachment. And this is where we've seen significant abuse and neglect. And that actually presents itself as very chaotic in a relationship and not capable of self-regulating in really any way, shape, or form.
Okay. So with the safety piece and feeling secure, that's really important to feel safe and secure in order to be vulnerable, to feel like you can let go and be expressive in your sexual relationships.
Absolutely.
So how do you work with clients to establish a secure attachment, or to at least be mindful of what their attachment styles is, so they can better navigate that and see what's contributing to them holding back versus letting themselves go and be expressive within their sexual relationships with their partners?
Great question. And you know, what we talk about is earned security. So like I said, you know, we used to believe that we had a certain attachment style that came from our childhood. But what we now know is with foundational relationships and creating good foundations in relationships, we can earn security. So what we want to do is first understand what attachment style that person is coming from. And we do that through some questioning and interviewing type style of counseling to get a better idea of the person's perspective of safety in relationship to others.
Right.
And out of that comes our understanding of what attachment style they are. I really emphasize to people though, attachment style is only one percentage or piece of your whole puzzle.
Right.
But definitely if we're talking about relationships, in understanding that, we can understand what we might need or want in the relationship in order to provide that earned security.
Right, which is really important. I think this is just giving you information to have that open dialogue first with yourself and then with your partner. Partners around, this is who I am, this is how I operate, this is how I feel in these certain circumstances, and this is maybe what I'm needing from you to feel secure,
Right.
so then I can feel open and vulnerable in your presence.
Absolutely, and that conversation right there is what we would call a secure conversation. So that's what we want to get people to. Of course, it looks very different when we're first starting to do this work. You know, when we think about the preoccupied attachment style or the anxious attachment style, a lot of times what this looks like is a dramatic pushing away of the partner in one way, shape, or form. It could sound something like, you never understand me, you never care for me, you don't do what I need you to do. And then in the belief system that that partner may turn away from them, there's the pulling, which is, you know, I'm going to do better, I'm going to be better, you know, this is all my fault, and pulling the person back.
Right.
In the dismissive, alternatively, it's I'm really good at doing things for my partners. These are action items. Great, like in terms of if we're in a partnership, we live together, we're great at doing the management of the home, we're great at looking after their personal needs, really great in the sexual relationship where the, again, is the action piece. But when it turns to the emotional intimacy that may take the sexual relationship further in terms of vulnerability, but also to create that connection and intimacy in the relationship, that's where there's a stumbling block, because once we get to feelings, there tends to be a withdrawal, and then we go back towards task-oriented stuff.
Okay, so just a final note in terms of what people can do or how they can learn about their attachment styles. What do you recommend?
You know, I really recommend being in tune with, you know, what are some of the dynamics going on in the relationship? Do I see any patterns or habits? A lot of people come to me because they're starting to see patterns or habits in a relationship, same conversations coming up over and over again.
Right.
So kind of grounding yourself in, hey, what's going on here? Do I see something similar, or negotiating the same conversations over and over again? And then recognize that work can be done usually with someone, right? Whether it's in a couple's relationship to kind of navigate these conversations, or whether it's with an individual to just get some self-soothing and self-love in there so that we can be in a loving relationship more concretely.
Well put. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you to work with you in terms of their attachment styles, they can contact you at Bliss Counseling, and the website is along the bottom there at blisscounseling.ca. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Stick around for more. Welcome back. We are here with Joann Flannery. She's a clinical sexologist and marriage and family therapist in an elite private practice. She's also one of my best and business partner at Sexuality International. Thanks for being here, Jo.
Thanks for having me. I clearly love it here. Come all the time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So sexuality across the lifespan, I think it's an important topic to talk about. So
Right.
what do we mean when we say sexuality across the lifespan?
So it's interesting to think that sexuality is across the lifespan, because I think when a lot of people think of sex and sexuality, the people who are most, who come to mind are like 18 to, maybe 45 or something. Like those seem like, oh, these people are old enough where they're engaged in sex, but they're young enough where it's like still hot to think about, and that's it's not true.
Right.
Sexuality is across the lifespan, and even when there's been instances of male sex children, babies having erections in utero,
Yep.
and then babies 0 to 3, they explore their bodies, they explore their genitals. Both males and females have erections and vasocongestion of the vagina, so there's lubrication happening, and it's spontaneous. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. It's their body's doing their thing, right?
Right. Yeah, it's their bodies coming into their own.
And a lot of times kids touch themselves just for self-soothing and just pleasure. It's not from in a sexual nature, but
Right.
it is part of their sexuality and getting to
Right.
know their bodies.
That's a great point. It's the adults that sexualize it, that think, oh, don't do that, and that's inappropriate, and they're just exploring their bodies. It's all innocent for them.
Right.
And so, did I define what sexuality across the lifespan is?
You just said like it goes through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in 0 to 3 again, those young kids, those infants and toddlers need a lot of physical touch from their parents.
And
they need hugging and cuddling, and that lays the blueprint for them to accept affection later on, and for them to know how to give it and receive it.
Have that secure attachment, right?
That's right.
That we were just talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So I think that's important.
Thank you. And then next is ages 4 to 8. Is that it?
Yeah, 48,
so
body exploration.
body exploration. And so those kids are learning about what their body looks like and then what your body looks like. And so from ages 4 to 8, you see a lot of kids playing doctor with each other and learning about each other's bodies. And so that's not something that you want to reprimand your child for. That's something that you want to say, I understand you're feeling curious. Is that something you want to talk about, or can I answer any questions for you? And then from 4 to 8, they can understand better what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior.
Right.
And so they also might start to self-pleasure at that young age. And that's not everybody, but that's somebody. That's some people, some kids. And so you want to talk about public versus private.
Mm-hmm.
So what's better to do in your bedroom versus in the living room or at the grocery store?
Right. No, that's really important, especially with the exploration for young kids. A lot of times I know parents can walk around the corner and just be caught off guard, right? So it's really important to take a deep breath and really not want to inject shame or project shame onto their kids like they've done something horribly wrong when they're just exploring. That's all it is. And then it just gives you the basis to have a healthy, honest conversation around, your body is for you and that sort of thing. But then moving on, when they are self-pleasuring, okay, public versus private, this is completely okay behavior, but you want to do that in the privacy of your own bedroom.
That's right. And I think if someone walks around the corner and they see their child exploring their body, and so if they do, you can't help how you react in the moment, right? That's your reaction. But what you can do is address it and say, oh, I was caught off guard.
Startled,
Yeah, I was startled, but I understand what's going on here and I want to talk to you about it.
So next up is puberty changes.
Yeah, and so what is that, 9 to 11? And so during that time, hormones are just starting to run more freely throughout the kids, and so they're thinking about opposite sex bodies, but they're more so hanging out with their own gender, and so like girls are running together and boys are running together, and so they're doing a lot of talking, a lot of very close intimate friendships happen during that time, and so also menstruation can start to happen during that time, and puberty is happening, so bodies are changing, breasts are growing, penises are growing, hair is growing in places that
they weren't used to having them there before.
That's right.
And then so 12 to 18, sexual exploration, need for independence.
Yeah, so do we even need to talk about this one?
Self-explanatory.
That's right. So that's a time when these adolescents sex is on the mind. People are starting to hook up more regularly. So in 9 to 11, maybe there's some touching and kissing happening. But during from 12 to 18, there could be even sex happening, pregnancy occurring.
Right.
The hormones are definitely in full effect here, and like you mentioned, need for independence. So these kids, they feel a need to differentiate themselves from family, to be their own person.
Start to create their own identity.
That's right, their own identity. That's right.
And so ages 19 to 30 and 31 to 45, it's all about relationship building and potentially childbearing, right?
That's right, yeah. And so for potentially childbearing, then also potentially facing infertility as well. And so it's a lot of relationship building. Figuring out how to maintain healthy relationships is important, and how to deal with relationship loss as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for reviewing all of this stuff with us. I think it's important to kind of break it down, sex across the lifespan, and we touched from 0 to 45, and as you know, older, hormones can tend to slow down, but sex definitely keeps going.
Sex still happens, yeah. Hormones change and slow down, and sex happens.
Well, thank you for being here. People can contact you at Sexuality International.
That's right. That's right.
Stick around for more. We'll be right back.